Waiting for one other alderperson. We will begin momentarily. Afternoon. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Rules Administration and Procedure Committee for the City of Aurora, Illinois. Today's date is Monday, August 4th, 2025. Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Chairperson Edward J. Bug.
Here.
Vice Chair Daniel Barrero.
Here.
Alderman Javier Benuelos.
Here.
Alderwoman Schwarabade.
Here.
Alderman at Large Will White.
Here.
5 present.
Thank you very much. Of course, today we're going out of turn a little bit, having our meeting one day early to help out the aldermen and some of the departments for National Night Out tomorrow. So first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes, 25-0582, approval of the minutes of the Rep Committee for the meeting held on July 15th, 2025. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion from Alderman Barrero, second from Alderwoman Bade. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Next matter on the agenda is public comment. Do we have anyone signed up for public comment today?
No one has signed up.
Okay. Let's go get right on into the agenda. 25-0605. A discussion on Chapter 9, Article 9-11, Section 9-15, as it pertains to backyard chickens. I will begin this discussion. This matter was brought to me by a resident, and she asked that I look into this matter. As a little bit of background, this matter was taken up by this body, I would say about 10 years ago, or maybe a little bit longer. It came before the Government Operations Committee. Alderwoman Shakita Burns was the chair. I sat on that committee. We had a very long discussion about it, and it was decided at that time that it not be moved forward for consideration. So that's the existing language, of course, that for our city, of course, is livestock and/or chickens and similar are prohibited. So we wanted to, after, I guess, a decade, possibly take another look. We know there are pros and cons on this side. For our benefit of the committee, I asked that person to include a number of comparisons for nearby cities. So in our packet, we have Elgin, Plainfield, and Naperville, similar cities, as close to our size as we could get, and the language of verbiage that they have on their ordinances. So that is just kind of the background. I will open it up to the floor for any opinions, questions at that time, and then I will ask if staff has any comments, questions, and then I will continue. So at this time, does the committee have any comments, questions on what was included on our packet or feelings on this subject matter?
Hi. For me, it's just not having a rooster. I think not having a rooster, if you have the chickens, and if they're properly maintained and they have the coops and all of that, I don't see any issues with it.
Okay. Anyone else?
I have a few questions, Chairman.
Certainly.
What is the purpose
of keeping the livestock and chickens and farm animals.
Okay, well, I will just zero in on the chickens because we are not going to consider
Okay.
livestock.
Okay, so that's a good thing. Because I saw livestock in one of the other cities, that's why I asked.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll have only for chickens. If we plan to have any ordinance, it's chicken focused.
Yeah,
now.
the proposal was for an adoption for chickens. Livestock and other things were not requested and are not entertained in this agenda item. So, of course, the reasoning, the person who brought it to me, and we can read in some of the language from the other cities. Some of the reasoning, of course, was, well, there's a number of factors. One, just educational aspect, to be sustainable, to have it enclosed your own type of system, and lastly, the price of eggs. So, of course.
Okay.
So the discussions that I have already had, and I could tell you some of the cons and some of the cons that these cities came up against. Certainly, we are a varied city. So we are a city. We have what you would consider suburban areas, and then you would have rural areas, even in the city limits or next to the city limits. Of course, I can speak of my own ward. I live closer to many farms than I do to a store. So, and actually behind my subdivision used to be a huge cattle farm, which was an unincorporated Wheatland Township. That's no longer there, but you see they built up, at least my area, around farms. And those farms they're unincorporated, so they have whatever they want. But definitely some of the people, the question that comes is people who moved into the city limits, that was part of their consideration. So when you move into the city, do you contemplate possibly that your neighbor to your left and the neighbor to your right are going to be raising chickens in their backyards? Okay? Because, and I brought this up to a resident, I said, well, you could go to one of the many farmers around here and set up a system with them. They are no further away from your house than a half a mile. You could go there, buy eggs that are brought up in that way, or you can set up a system if you want your family to learn that and your kids to learn that and have that type of educational experience. You could have that opportunity. We don't want to take that opportunity away from you, and you could set up that system. It just wouldn't be in your own backyard. So certainly, people moved into the city, they made that decision. They weren't moving to an unincorporated area where you could expect anything. You could expect livestock. You could expect whatever in your next door neighbor's yard. You could expect it if you're an unincorporated. When you're in the city, for some people, the expectation was, I won't have that. So those are some of the things that were brought up by people. And like I said, we're a varied, diverse as far as, I don't want to call it country, but unincorporated areas and that. So yeah, there's definitely, like I said, good and bad on the other side. Another point that was brought up, of course, and I see in some of the cities, they're writing, they say that you have to have an enclosure for the food that different animals can't get to. But no matter what, and maybe we should even talk to animal control a little bit about this. No matter what, once you set up that system, at least in my area, and I think areas that are close to unincorporated areas, you are going to attract more coyotes to your area. That's a given.
Yeah.
No matter what type of coop you set up, you cannot stop the smell. So you're going to have, and we already have a lot of coyotes in our area. You're going to attract more. That is something to be considered. Other areas of the city don't have as much coyote activity and not as much of a consideration. We did have a pet years ago, a number of years ago, taken down by a coyote. And of course, for that family, it was very traumatic, of course. So, like I said, there's a lot of things to consider here. Any other questions at this time?
I do. I have more.
Okay,
Yeah.
please go.
Who will make sure that the rules are being followed? Is the police department responsible, animal control responsible, health department responsible? Like they're keeping the pet chicken in humane way, and also slaughtering, if slaughtering will be allowed, and like how will that be controlled? Maybe people want for eggs, other people want for the chicken. So what will be the things for that? And other things are like, will HOA board members or HOAs supersede if they don't want them in their communities? And other health issues that come along, like if they're keeping the chicken and everything in a clean manner or not. And few other things were like, again, what kind of violations will the city have to put in place to handle such situations, and do we have the bandwidth to handle chickens? Yeah.
Okay.
And once you have these things, then I can think of some other questions too. But one of the question was for coyotes and fox and other animals that will get attracted. And also if the homes are not fenced, will there be rules that people have to put a fence, or just the coop will be enough? And weather conditions too. So a lot of things came to my mind when I read about this. So yeah.
Yes.
I'm sorry if there are too many.
Oh, no.
I can repeat those.
No, all excellent points that we will consider. I could say generally, like I said, looking at some of the other cities, if we go down this path, I imagine it would be a combination of input from, certainly this would fall under property standards. However, we would need input from animal control because it's kind of their purview also. So a combination of those two, definitely property standards, because that's any aspect. Just say, take your dog and you, for whatever reason, have something in your backyard about your dog or something that is, outside our ordinance, property standards would be contacted, and also animal control would be contacted. So it would be a combination of the two. So as far as slaughtering, the other municipalities did, I think a little bit took a look at that. I don't think anybody.
Restricted?
Yeah,
Municipal
yeah, it was
activities
restricted, yeah.
Restricted. One said if it's humane, I mean, maybe Plainfield, I think, said due to humane reasons. It shall be unlawful for any person to slaughter any chicken within the village except for humane or a humane reason.
Okay,
So we don't
yeah.
know how to control that.
Yeah, that's a very nice way of saying, of course, euthanasia. And again, that's kind of worked out a little bit through animal control. So if your pet is at end of life, you have different ways to make that happen within our ordinances and, I guess a vet or whatever. So yeah, definitely we are not, I would not be advocating for us to allow the slaughtering of chickens for, processing or other things. Yeah, so the contemplation of this, of course, was for eggs and education. So yeah, all excellent points, and we would definitely need to take those into account. Alderman White had a question.
Thank you. So it's good to know that 10 years ago this was brought up to the committee before, and it was chosen not to bring forward. Is there, what were the reasons for it not going forward, and in that 10-year period, what would change for us to reconsider that?
Well, if I could put my thinking back on to a decade ago, I think some of the things that I brought up today were some of the reasoning. And as I said, Alderwoman Hart Burns was the chairwoman of that committee. Basically, a lot of it was the interaction and the bringing in of those other type of animals into our quote-unquote suburban area when they're already here, but attracting them to a certain area. And so there was much discussion of like a house that right now sits next to an unincorporated area. They could already have chickens there in the unincorporated area, and you could live inside the city limits not very far from. So kind of in that discussion and some of the writing in the other cities, they have it as small as the coop could be as short as 30 feet away from. So your neighbor's coop could be right on their fence line, and then your house could be, literally a basketball toss away, and, that's very close. You assume if you live next to an unincorporated area or next to an unincorporated farm, the distance is going to be much more than 30 feet away from your house. So that was part of the discussion that we had then and part of the reasoning. I don't remember the vote for it at that time. We only had 3 people on the committee. If some of our newer people might not remember that. But we only had 3 people instead of 5 on the committee. But that did not pass out of committee at that time. So if I could ask legal. Is that that? Oh, okay. Hello, sir.
Hello, Alderman. Patrick Collins, the assistant, what am I, assistant corporation counsel?
Yes, excellent. Okay. I'm sure you've been reading up on your chicken coops in this great state of Illinois this week. Now, my question from the Alderwoman, would the HOAs, if we set up a type of ordinance, would the HOAs be able to be more restrictive? And
Yes.
yeah, that's usually the answer, but I wanted for you to say it.
I mean, we're not the HOA. The HOA couldn't allow chicken coops if the city didn't, but on their restrictive covenants, whatever else they want to put on their tenants would be, well, I guess not, or their own property owners would be. The HOA can put any kind of restriction on that they want.
Okay, yeah. So, thank you for that.
Yeah.
So yeah, even if we pass an ordinance, whoever, Oakhurst or Amber Fields HOA can come back and say, the city passed this ordinance, but in our subdivision, we're gonna go ahead and restrict it, so they could still do that. Any other questions or comments? Alderman Barrero.
Chairman Bug, I had a couple things. So in Ward 1, we've had some issues with respect to loose dogs to the point where mail has been stopped because some dogs have chased some letter carriers. And residents have been without mail for over a month in 2 different areas. And so just trying to work with animal control to get some tougher legislation or some penalties for people that have loose dogs in lieu of just giving them a citation that means nothing. I haven't had that and seen any action on that in almost a year. Have another resident or street that has issue with feral cats, and there's no resolution to that as well. So my concern is that, adding another thing for animal control to deal with, it just seems like a stretch, because what do we need to do? Hire more staff for enforcement? I go to a neighborhood group meeting, Pigeon Hill Neighbors, and their complaint is roosters. So, roosters very near to St. Joe's Church. Nothing's being done about that. And nobody in the ward has reached out to me stating that they want this. So what I would want is more time to get input for residents, see what the residents have to say. We're having these town hall meetings, and to me, this seems the appropriate venue to bring these things up, but they aren't being presented in these forums. And so how else are we supposed to gauge whether or not people want these unless we have more time to bring them up as we go out and meet residents at different, meetings and such. So that's kind of where I'm at. I haven't had anybody asking for these. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Barrero. Excellent points. If I could ask you a question on that, do you know the roosters? Do we know if those are in the city limits or outside?
They're in the city limits. They're not permitted.
Okay. Well, I guess, that would be an excellent point right now. So we have a person, a resident, who is violating the ordinance right now. So we would need to see, even to begin, how is that being handled right now? Because we can see how it would be handled right now. We can see how it would be handled if we put something into effect. Because I'm assuming every other city did not allow roosters. So I'm assuming we would probably go down that same path. It is property standards right now overburdened that they, it's not possible for them to catch up with that rooster owner, or are the fines so small that there's no impact and they just keep going? So I think that's something that's an excellent point, and I'll follow up myself with that and ask our people of property standards what their take on that is.
I have one more thing.
Alderman Bay.
Is it possible to find out from our neighboring city or some other cities that are on Legistar, how many complaints do they receive for violations? That will give us some idea, like there are so many people violating, or
Excellent. Gotta make a little note of that.
and that can be added to our report.
Okay. Any other questions, comments at this time?
And Chairman, I also agree that if we get some time to talk to our residents, what Alderman Barrero mentioned, that will be great. Few months when we have our community meetings and town halls, everywhere we can get some feedback from our residents if they want or no.
Right,
Yeah.
right,
Thank you.
definitely. And of course, that was the reason, this was brought as a discussion point, because of course, we would need to craft legislation from, probably taking it from the boilerplate from those other cities, kind of the best practices, see where they made mistakes, and craft something that could possibly work for our city, if we go down that road. Or we might say, talk to our residents, and there may be some who think it's a good idea. There may be some who think it is the worst idea ever. You never know. So, definitely to start to bring this up in our town hall discussions, and for people to get to know about it. I am going to invite the woman who asked me to begin this. So I don't know if I'll ask her to come to the next committee meeting, but maybe the one after that. We'll probably have, like I said, maybe have Ms. Harris come from Property Standards, get her input, get input from Animal Control, and get the city side input, and then ask her. She's very, people are very passionate about, things that they want their families to be involved in, and she is very passionate about this. So, so have her come and speak also. So.
Can I mention one more thing?
Certainly.
Since we are finding out information from different departments, how will the dead animals be disposed? Will there be a separate bin, or what happens in those cases? So.
Okay, yeah, I'm not going to speak for any other departments, but it would be treated as another pet, or so kind of find those same guidelines, the most humane way, and following if you had a pet rabbit or what have you. Any other questions? So we will, we'll be holding this here. We don't need a motion for that. But yeah, we will, like I said, excellent points from everyone. Appreciate the comments, and we will reach out to those two bodies to start, and the discussion about how that would look possibly, and see where we can go from there. So, this
Motion to
is,
adjourn.
pardon?
Motion to adjourn.
Yeah, this is our only agenda item. Anyone have anything else to come before the body today? We have a motion to adjourn from Alderwoman Bade. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second from Alderman White. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed? And we are adjourned at 3:29 p.m. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.